You're just funny. It's funny, you know, the way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how?
Come here though. Yeah, he's crazy, see? Who are you?
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Are you ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, exciting episode. As always, I say that with most of my episodes. But this is a fun one because if you've been following me on YouTube and you subscribed, appreciate you. But I didn't get a chance really to talk a lot on the podcast about some movie reviews, and I don't get a chance to geek out as much. So my YouTube is really where I get a chance to geek out a lot. But most recently, the new Batman came out, Matt Reeves' take on the Caped Crusader. And this is my first quote-unquote official podcast about the topic. I've done a full review on it, but I figured what better person to have on than Tyrone Magnus. So if you guys don't know Tyrone, big YouTube sensation. He's a big YouTube sensation. He does everything geek-related, voiceover, actor, just tons of great content. So check out his YouTube channel. I'll leave the link in the description below. But this was a really fun chat because he's been on the podcast before, and I think it was like last year that I had him on when Zack Snyder's Justice League came out on HBO Max, and we geeked out about that. So I figured we got to have him on. We got to talk about the Batman and his take on it, his take on the future of DC, because he's got some really interesting points. And even if you're not like a superhero fan, if you're just a movie junkie, I think you're going to enjoy this podcast. But again, just a really cool episode that I think you guys will get a kick out of. Before we get into today's episode, I do want to thank our sponsors over at Perfect Keto. So, folks, whether you follow a healthy diet regimen or not, really Perfect Keto talks and preaches about just living a healthier lifestyle. And whether that's through their blog, that they talk about different foods that you can and can't eat that are healthy for you, some myths, they talk a lot about that, but they just have a plethora of great foods on their site at perfectketo.com. So tons of great supplements. You know, they have one of my favorites is Super Fat, which you guys hear me talk about all the time. But they also have some really great supplements like collagen, which is really good for skin and hair growth. They even have greens, which is one of their supplements where it's in a powder form, but it's up to 23, I think, or 26 fruits and veggies per scoop. So if you're like me and just don't have enough time in the day to intake a lot of fruits and veggies that you think you should, this is a great way to get those nutrients in your system without actually bombarding your intestines with a bunch of fruits and veggies. You can check out perfectketo.com to see everything they got. Again, tons of great snacks, healthy foods, and things that actually help you reach your goals. Use the code THEBAROTO if you want 20% off the entire order. So you can load up your cart with anything you want. You'll get 20% off. Again, use the code THEBAROTO at perfectketo.com. But without further ado, everyone please help me welcome my guest on the Barada podcast today, Mr. Tyrone Magnus. And I actually wanted you on. I'm glad you saw it because I saw it on the first as well. I got the fan premiere as well. IMAX, only way to go for a movie like this. And I didn't realize, but I think the last time I had you on was maybe this time last year when Zack Snyder's Justice League came out, and we geeked out about that. And I got to tell you, because I know you're a big Zack Snyder fan, and when I first saw this trailer and when I heard about it and all the rumblings and all that, because it was around when Zack Snyder came out, I think it was 2019, they talked about Matt Reeves taking over when Affleck pulled out. And I was like, dude, they're making a mistake. The Snyderverse is the only way to go. And I was so set on, like, Heath Ledger himself, may he rest in peace, could rise from the dead and say, I'm going to do another movie. And I'm like, no, it needs to be Affleck. Like, I would be So that was my perception when I first heard about it. Then I saw the teaser with the Nirvana cover.
Yeah.
And I'm like, interesting.
Uh-huh.
And
I was bored until he beat the guy down.
Yes.
And I was like, that's the part that caught everybody off guard.
Chills, bro.
Like, wait a minute.
It's like, hold on, Ben Affleck who? Like, what? Like, you forgot about it real quick. And then in the back of my head, I'm like, well, eventually I still want the Snyderverse and all that, because nothing could beat that version of where I wanted Batman to go. And then I saw this movie last night or the other night on the 1st. And dude, I was speechless, number one. And I found myself, I saw my buddy Nova, who's a huge Batman geek as well. And I felt myself like, I didn't want to say it, but I was like, because I'm such a big Dark Knight fan and Snyder fan. And I'm like, Dark Knight was always my top. I even did a ranking the night before, top 10, and Dark Knight was number 1. And I did it on the 31st, or excuse me, the 28th of February. And then I was like, I'm seeing the Batman tomorrow. Dark Knight, it's always going to be number 1. I said this on my YouTube video. It's still up. And I go, the next day I did a Batman review, and I go, I was wrong. This is the best Batman movie. Not just live action, but animated, because I'm a big animated fan as well of Batman. But just the way Matt Reeves took the character, the storyline, true detective. I mean, it was the comics, man. It was the comic adapted into this horror movie, like kind of like a mix between like Seven and Saw, but without the cheesiness of Saw. And like very noir, but what got me the most.
A lot of people said they felt that Seven Saw feel.
Yeah. And mainly was Paul Dano, so I want to get your pin on a lot of stuff. But one thing that gave me the chills was in the beginning, spoiler alert, when Robert Pattinson's narrating. Yeah. That right there was like when he's journaling about it and stuff, it gave me like a very Sin City vibe. You know how, right? Like Mickey Rourke was like talking shit about the city and it's dirty and all that. And I'm like, ooh, I hope he does this to the whole movie. And he did. And it was, we've never seen that before. And I just thought that was a genius take.
Yeah, everybody got a monologue.
That's true. Everybody got a monologue. You're right.
Everybody, all the main characters got a monologue in this. So I was just like, this is interesting. By the third monologue, I was like, he's monologuing too. Holy shit. So then as an actor, I paid attention to how good their monologue is. And I'm like, they all killed it. They all killed it, man.
They crushed it. So definitely.
I sat in the movie and I was like, there was a point where I was like, I cannot believe how good this is. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I was a third in, but I was like, I'm really surprised.
Well, and because, I mean, it's 3 hours long. And yeah, I mean, you don't feel 3 hours. I mean, for like a 3-hour movie, even, again, I know you're a big Snyder fan. I think we could agree that his version of Justice League, it doesn't even, Josh Whedon doesn't exist. Like, take that out of the Warner Brothers vault. That movie was incredible, right? 4 hours long. There were some parts where I'm like, I'll fast forward through. Or that's when I'll go to the bathroom. Like, I could miss a couple parts. It's still a beautiful piece of work for that 4 hours. But this movie, this version of Matt, like that 3 hours, I was in the zone. I did not want to leave at all. I think I might have bladder issues because I held my urine so much. I mean, it was, right? I mean, there's not really a part in there.
I made sure I stopped drinking anything a certain amount of time before. So
yes. That's good advice. You gotta. That's good advice for anybody that wants to see it. Is plan, don't eat any crazy, no coffee beforehand. Like do it right. Yeah.
It only there was a point I do remember though. It didn't feel like 3, but there was a point where it felt a little long to me. I do remember that. I never mentioned that in my review. And I was watching. Maybe Schmoes, I think it was. And I think he was saying how, I don't know if it was him, maybe it was Greg Alba's brother. But they were saying how, as great of a movie as it is, he doesn't know how rewatchable it is. Like The Dark Knight, you can watch The Dark Knight every day.
That's true.
You know what I mean? It was one of those type of movies when it came out.
That's true.
But because of the mood and the energy of this, I don't know if you could watch it every day like that with that type of. The Dark Knight brings out, and movies like that bring out your childlike excitement. Watch it.
That's true.
I feel like this movie brings out more of a, I don't know, a critic wine tasting, euphoric type of I want to
sophisticated. Yeah.
and enjoy this. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's more of an experience type of movie than
I never that
which I love.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that. That is true. And you know what it is, though, now that you say it, what I think gives you that feeling that it's the longest is because it's so, the cinematography is so beautiful and gorgeous. There's a lot of pan ins and outs. And, you know, like even when the Riddler gets caught, that's in the trailer, you could see it. When they're outside the diner, the cops move in, even that pan in scene, it was like 20 seconds before they even.
Yeah.
So
I noticed that.
I mean, you can, and there's like probably 50 moments in the movie that do that. And it's definitely part of the movie. Like, I'm not saying to take it out, Matt Reeves, but you're right, though, because if you take out all those pan out moments and pan in moments, the movie's like 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, so it's definitely part of the
feel.
feel.
It was a slow burn. It was
a slow burn.
Methodical.
Yeah.
You know?
So you're right, though, because I can't envision myself, because I just read an article saying that it's going to be out on HBO Max, I think, end of April.
I heard that too.
So, like, I'll watch it the second it comes out. But yeah, you're right. Like The Dark Knight, I could watch that every single day. You know, I can have it in the background. It's just a great, it's just a great movie.
Feels like it moves faster.
That's true. That's true. But man, there's so much to unpack about this movie in general. But like, what is your take overall on how Matt Reeves kind of displayed Bruce Wayne / Batman? And I say Bruce Wayne loosely because there's barely Bruce Wayne, which is fantastic.
Which is, I was going to say, I loved that.
Yeah.
And when he was Bruce, he didn't change from being Batman. He spoke the same way.
Loved it. And that part was great.
You know what's interesting? Even when I look back at Ben's Bruce Wayne was very similar to his Batman too. Think about it, like when he encountered Clark, the way he's talking and this and that, and like, you know, he's very nonchalant. Even when he talked to Alfred, he was very nonchalant about a lot of stuff.
Not a lot of inflection in the voice, and yeah, that's true.
But you said, what did I think about his take?
Yeah, like overall, because you know everyone criticized a little bit about being too emo and too dark and things like that. But what are your thoughts on it?
Set in the movie that it is, I have so many kind of points to, because my mind goes in different directions when I think about stuff like this. Because think about this: Heath Ledger. Many people say he's the greatest Joker ever, right? My favorite is Jack, and I feel that him, Joaquin, and Heath are right here. When you look at both of those performances, all the people that was like, Heath is the greatest of all time, nobody can get time for it. When Joaquin did his, people were like, holy fucking shit. I didn't know Superman could get punched in the mouth that hard. Yes, there are other actors that are equal to or better than some of your favorites.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at that Joker, both of those Jokers, they're not the Joker. People complain so much. Fans will want a comic accurate character, then get one that's not character accurate, praise him like he's God. Then when another character's introduced, they're mad again. What do you want? Do you want a comic accurate? Do you want different takes? Do you not? Because if we want to get really comic accurate, you put them in spandex outfit. They're going to look really fucking stupid.
That's right.
Not too many men can pull that off. Christopher Reeves did. He did. But so what I'm saying is, I didn't want an emo, but in the environment's not the word I'm looking for this. What am I looking for?
I mean, in the context of the whole film.
Yeah, the context,
yeah.
But it's not the word I'm looking for. But in the context of this movie, he absolutely fits.
Yeah.
The way it's written, the way it's shot, especially the tone this guy fits. The whole movie is dark.
For sure.
And somebody pointed out it's darker than the Tim Burton Batman Returns because that one was actually lit brighter, even though it was a dark film. You know what I mean? Everything was black, and
one of my favorite Christmas movies for sure.
Yeah, I thought Pattinson did a really good job at that whole stoicness.
Well, and I don't think a lot of people, understand. Like, we've never seen year 2 Batman either.
Right.
So I think it's interesting what they did with the character because, you look at like where he's at, and he's jagged, he's pissed off, he doesn't really know what he's doing. He thinks he's doing a good thing, but he doesn't really know what to do. He's making mistakes, so he's jaded a little bit still. But what I love about it is, like, if there was to be a sequel, I don't know what Matt Reeves plans to do, but for me, I look at, like, he hasn't peaked yet. Like, he hasn't hit his arch yet, right? So Robert Pattinson can go from, like, being this emo type of Batman to eventually the billionaire philanthropist that we all know in movie 3, let's say. But we've never seen him kind of grow that much. Because even like Christian Bale, even though that trilogy was fantastic, he starts off like day one as Bruce Wayne, and he's like this billionaire. He knows what to do, and he's got all these great gadgets and stuff. But that was like year 1, technically, because we saw him, right? Yeah. But it didn't show the evolution of how to become Batman or Bruce Wayne, really. And I love what you said about how he's always Batman. The funeral home was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Because as he's walking, you hear the whisperings of like the police and, Gordon and all that. And they're talking about, I don't want to say who's missing, but there's something that's going on. And Bruce Wayne is like listening a little bit, and he's trying to solve cases as he's, dude, that is beautiful.
I like when the cop that put his hand on his chest, like, back the fuck up.
Oh, yeah.
Was the same cop that see him. Mr. Wayne. And he's just looking at him the same way.
It's fantastic.
He does his smile in the whole movie. And it's funny, like, he could have smiled at somebody or waved, or he didn't do anything. He is a really troubled, broken man in this movie, man.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't, you get that he doesn't care about his own life. He just wants to avenge his parents and just work it out.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it was great. Aside from the funeral home, I would probably say because that whole scene was great too. From that all the way leading to the end with that car and that funeral home scene. I don't want to say, but I love the part where he wakes up at the police station, and that to me was like that 3 minutes from when he wakes up and he, fights with the police. All this is they released this already, so it's not spoiling anything, but I love the fact that he's talking with Gordon. He's trying to figure this thing out, but he's also in cahoots a little bit. And then when he leaves and he runs out, you see him run. Like, normally when you and I see Batman films, we think you throw down the smoke and he disappears and what happens when he disappears. But this kind of showed us like the gritty version of Batman actually physically running, like he's a human in a bat suit. He runs, he goes to the roof.
Here's something I want to say. I'm going to give a little bit of pushback on that, only because I remember did you see my reaction to that clip when it came out?
I did.
I got tons of hate for it, right? Now, people were like, oh, Matt Reeves is so genius. What he did was he showed us how he's running so that we know he really is just a man in a suit. Right? However, what I'm trying to say here is I feel in that context, what he did in front of all those cops, yes, you could say he could do his disappearing act. But see, you're covering. You're not saying spoilers. I thought we were going to talk spoilers.
We can. Go ahead.
Okay.
You just got to say spoilers.
Batman does the disappearing act twice in this movie.
Yes.
And the gas pellets one time.
Yeah.
So I was like, look at all these people talking all this shit like I'm stupid, like I don't know what I'm talking about. But when you watch it in the context, it's like, I really like how they did it. He hit him. He ran. He got the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
But when it was time to truly use those skills, he did them.
Yeah.
And you know what I like? How it should. He was an amateur. He didn't know what the Tucker was. Like, he's smart, but Alfred had to help him figure out the cipher a little bit.
Right.
When he went to the top, he was like he wasn't ready. Batman's never scared of heights.
I love that part.
Yeah, it's like, well, okay, I've got the tech. All right, it's time for it. Boom. And he, but it was like, oh, he was scared.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, because we don't know if we've never seen him jump off a building before. Like, that might have been his first time, right? And that's what's so genius about that whole part. And yeah, you're right. I could definitely see that side. I could appreciate where you're at. But it's funny when people do see the movie, like, you probably got hate for it, but then they're going to be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because
you're like I said, you're saying I'm stupid because you're saying no, Matt's trying to show that he's a kid running down this, which he's not a kid. People kept saying he's a kid in a suit. He's not a kid. He's a grown fucking man. Is he 18 in this? Like, I don't understand.
Now, he was 18 back in the Twilight films, man. He's like in his...
Yeah, but when they actually showed that he does still do his disappearing, he still uses his gadgets, his pellets, I was like, well... no, the theatricality and deception is still there.
It's still there. And that's what I love. It's not there all the time. He's learning, he's making mistakes, but what's even more crazy about this is, and we touched base on it a little bit, but he is Batman 95% of the 3 hours, and it was, and we've never seen it before. And, it's almost like, it kind of makes sense. 'Cause if you're a director and you're making a Batman movie and you're paying all this money to put him in the suit, because normally it's like a whole process to put these actors in these suits, like Christian Bale, right? It was a whole process to put him in that suit. He could barely move, but you only filmed an hour out of the 3 hour movie. Right. So here, Matt Reeves did the opposite. Matt Reeves, he's like, hey man, if we're paying for this suit, everyone wants to see him. So even if he's walking around solving crimes and shit, he's not going to be Bruce Wayne solving it. He's going to be Batman with Gordon. And that whole dynamic was like, I could watch an HBO Max series called Gordon and Batman, and I would be stoked, because they're like... I
really liked Gordon.
It was great.
He was a really, like, I put him right there with, what was it? I always forget his fucking name.
Oh, Gary Oldman?
Yes.
Yeah, he's great.
I love Gary Oldman's Gordon. I put him right there.
Neck and neck,
there, or maybe even a little bit better. I really like this Gordon for some reason.
Yeah, and I forget his name, but he's in.
But it was how he did it.
It was great, dude. And I don't know if I forget his name, but the guy that's in Westworld, for people that don't know, that's who he was. What's Gordon's name? Do you remember?
I know what I remember him from. He was in the Shaft movie that Samuel L. Jackson did. He was Peoples.
Oh my God, I forgot about Martinez.
That. Yeah.
God damn.
Right?
I didn't even realize. I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to give that a rewatch.
I was like, that's Peoples. This is hilarious.
That's great. No, man, he's fantastic. Yeah, their whole dynamic of, and I loved how there was no origin story of it either. Like, from the first scene that they're in together, like, they're solving crimes. Like, everyone else is, hey, Gordon, what the hell are you doing? Why is the bat here? You going to bring him along? And he's like going to bat, pun intended, for Batman. And he's like, nah, he's with me. Don't worry about it. I got this. And that whole like dynamic was just very interesting. And, you don't realize that until after I got done. One of the things I said in my review that was I don't think a lot of people would realize with this. Once you see it, there is not one scene, not 1 millisecond where we get a flashback of Bruce Wayne's parents. Not one, and I was expecting one at one point. This is the only live action, even if you count Batman vs Superman, which of course you have to, because I think that's a great film. But that to me is a Batman movie as well, and even there's a flashback. We didn't even get that on this, and it's technically a reboot origin story. And I love that because, again, I look at it like, we know what time it is. We know what happened. There was hints to it, but I don't need a scene. I don't need a 20-minute origin story. Like we all
Yeah.
know.
Well, everyone, the whole world knows his origin story.
Yeah.
So it's like, when I remember, I like how these directors are surprising us, Zach and Matt, because I remember when I first heard that they were going to do another showing his parents killed. I was like, what the hell, man? Like, but then when I saw it, I was like, this is the most beautiful murdering of Bruce's parents that I've ever seen. The
Yeah.
whole thing with the gun, the cock, the hammer pulling and breaking
The pearls and yeah.
I was like, wow, like this is nuts.
Well, and it was a lot of, and it was in the intro too, so it wasn't even like its own thing.
Yeah.
Right, which was even kind of better because it kept you engaged with the intro. Snyder's always been great about that. But yeah, that's like the max it should be done. Like same thing with the Superman reboot. I know they're gonna have to reboot, unfortunately, which sucks. But if you do that, I don't need another hour and a half, 2 hour origin story. Like let's just get into it.
Yeah. They pissed me off with this. They better bring back Henry.
I know, dude. Especially with
massive,
especially with Black Adam and everything. Like, how do you not take advantage of that?
Yes, we need that Henry Cavill Superman for that, man.
Sucks, dude.
But
this is making me see. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you said Batman v Superman is a Batman movie, but did you ever notice when you watch the Ultimate version, it's a Superman movie?
Way more Superman.
Isn't that interesting?
Fucking Warner Brothers, dude.
Very interesting. Go ahead, though. Sorry, man.
No, you're right. You're right. Because again, I'm like you. I'm Batman and Superman is like Batman to me is probably it's close because if I look at Superman as a whole, they're neck and neck to me. But if you were to pick apart the last few years or the last decade, I would say I'm more Batman just because I feel like Henry Cavill didn't get a chance to really expand. So I think we would have captured a lot more Superman fans if that got a little bit more love and he got a couple movies out of it. But I did look at that like as a Batman and a Superman movie. And I look at the DC universe where it's going, and then I'm never going to be opposed to more Batman or more Superman. Even if you don't do it the right way, I'm okay with giving it a shot because I just like these movies. It does worry me a little bit with The Flash coming out because I'm a big Keaton fan. I'm like you. For me, for Joker and Batman, it's Keaton and Nicholson. Like those are my two. It's hard to beat, right? Because it's a different world. I mean, it's the conversation of like LeBron and Jordan, who's better? Well, if you're over 30, you're going to say Jordan probably. It's just because that's the world,
Yeah. I noticed that with entertainment, with music, movies, and everything, things are changing. And we're becoming the old guard. And it's like, it's just really interesting. Just certain movies that come out, like it happened to me last year, where, I got a lot of hate for certain movies that I didn't like. And people kept saying, you don't like nothing, which was false. But maybe there's a changing of the guard. But I was seeing a lot of similar reviews, even though that was similar to my opinion. But my point is, what I'm seeing popular with the kids and with this generation, it's different.
It's way different.
It's not the same stuff, man. Like, I didn't like Free Guy. I didn't think it was that fun. Like, I like him, but it wasn't that good of a movie to me, and people loved Free Guy.
Yeah. Well, it's because they like Ryan Reynolds, and even if he's in a bad movie, they're going to say that they like it probably.
Maybe. I don't know.
Which, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of that way with a few people too, so I get it. But yeah, you're right. It's like, I'm more of a cinematography fan and a good movie fan. And to me, that's all CGI. Like, it's a fun movie, but Free Guy, I mean, you're keeping me engaged by computer animated motion. Like, you're not really keeping me engaged with stories or plots or character building. Like, that's how I like my movies. I like my movies where you're keeping me engaged that way. Because I could just watch a bunch of, cool YouTube videos and cartoons if I want fake CGI stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
nice blended was great.
Yeah. But I mean, where do you see with everything that's going on with The Flash and bringing back Keaton? I heard he's like going to get 3 more movies. I don't know if they're going to be spinoffs. I'm kind of hoping they're going to do like a whole he's the older Bruce Wayne Batman, and maybe they're going to do a Batman Beyond movie. That would be dope.
Right. Yes, it would.
That's what I'm hoping for. But I don't know.
I'm very concerned everywhere from Superman to Batman. Everything that I'm hearing, the rumors that I'm hearing, because I cover them and I read those. There's rumors about Ben possibly dying in the Flash and sacrificing himself. I don't want that. There's rumors of Batgirl's going to take over for Keaton as Batman, in his place, and they're trying to do this whole. I'm getting really sick of the checking the box movement, which is the woke movement. Just make great stories the way they were supposed to be told, and you can do diversity in other ways in these movies. You really can, or just other movies. Every movie doesn't have to be Africa, Chinatown, Europe, India, LGBTQ plus. It doesn't have to check every single box. Why can't it be its own standalone story? It doesn't have, because even in the story of our lives, if you want to talk about reality, even our real lives aren't that diverse all the time.
That's right.
Sometimes it was all black folk when this story happened. Sometimes it was all white people. You know what I mean?
And that's okay. That's what's great about this country and the world is everything is diverse, but it's not diverse everywhere. And that's like, as humans, it's okay for us to get out of our comfort zone and find that diversity a little bit, but they're reinventing things. Like, I'm sure you heard about what happened with Superman, how the cartoon, how they changed his slogan. And I mean,
hello, son.
Oh my God. Listen, just reinvent a new character, man. Don't call him Superman. That's what, because I did also hear about how they're going to create a new Justice League, like you said, with Batgirl leading and all that. But that never happened. That didn't happen in the comics.
I don't read the comics that much anymore, so
it didn't happen.
I'm telling you, sometimes I feel like they do it just for controversy, but they have a backlash coming so big.
Yeah.
If they do that, especially Marvel too, if they try to do an all-female Avengers, people are awake to what's happening. So when they're doing this woke stuff, they push back because they know what you're doing. None of this stuff even felt organic. It felt kind of why? Like when I was sitting in game, when it's don't worry, got help. And all the girls get together. It's just I actually liked that moment, but I was like,
you tried too hard.
I see what you're doing.
And bro, dude, and let's be honest. We've seen this 1,000 times before, right? It was very popular with the Me Too movement and all that, which, again, we're talking two different things. You don't need to combine a movement that there's a lot of good that comes out of that movement that you don't need to showcase amongst the world. It's okay to keep under the radar. It's for the people that, for the folks that give money to the homeless and then video about it. And do a selfie with you no, bro, just give money to the homeless. You don't got to tell anybody. That's the cool thing about it. So if you're trying to be woke, do it, but you don't have to showcase it and reinvent stuff. How did the Ghostbusters reboot go with all the girls? How'd that go?
Right.
Not very good. Right.
Yeah. What are you, that's why I'm saying sometimes I think maybe all this stuff is so far into production.
Yeah.
They can't change it, and they're just bringing it out to
get
all the rest out.
Yeah.
Because this Lord of the Rings thing, it's it's all backfiring massively. Star Wars.
Oh, the Star Wars, that's
to do this.
Yeah.
They're not. You can always be diverse. You just don't have to push it in our faces like that.
Exactly.
That's all.
And when you do have certain movies that come out, you look at the Batman, right? So this just came out. There's only one character in there that is a strong female woman. There's going to be no right? Catwoman, Zoe, and she crushed it. She fucking crushed it. The best Catwoman.
She did better than I thought she was going to do. I'd never seen her act before, so I was a little worried. And I was like, because a lot of times you hear about these actors or stars, kids, and it's people look at it like, what did you do to obtain this role? Other than be this person's, But then I was watching, I was like, she's good.
She's great. Yeah. And and it's not about checking the boxes either. They brought her aboard because she was the best for it and she crushed it. And there's going to be no feedback saying, well, hold on, there's not, how come the woman isn't Chinese? in the movie? Like, how come the woman's not white? You know, it just made sense, and we don't have to push it in our face and destroy the franchise for it. You know, but you look at like what they're doing with all these movies, especially in DC, it's so frustrating. Like, I like how what Marvel's doing a little bit, hopefully, where at least they're bringing on like She-Hulk, and that's a comic that makes sense. But then I also heard that they're going to do, Mark Ruffalo said in an interview, he's passing the banner to her. His words, he's passing the banner. And I'm like, so does that mean we're not going to get a solo Mark Ruffalo film? Does that mean he's done being the Hulk only because he's a guy that can't be? It's like, what are we doing?
Yes.
What are we doing? Although, I mean, if Matt Reeves takes over, and I never thought I would say this because I was confident Snyder could be the one, but it seems like that's not going to happen, unfortunately.
Well, there's still rumors that something's going on.
Really, behind the scenes?
Deal with Discovery and them. Yeah, there's some rumors. So,
oh, anything you could share with the class?
Yeah. Well, actually, if you check out The Real Rejects, they just did a video on it. So there's some rumors going on. I haven't had a chance to, but I've been hearing murmurings for a while that the execs at Discovery love what Zach has done. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So since they bought that division or HBO Max or whatever merger they did,
the new VP or
like,
something.
Well, once we get in here, we move these execs out. Our execs are in. You're handling this. Like, I hear the rumor is kind of like he's going to be on HBO Max doing his stuff parallel to, you know, the
universe.
We'll have to see. That's what everyone wants.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, look, WB, go ahead and experiment with all this dumb shit. Or go ahead on a separate timeline in universe and let Zach do his thing. That way, everybody gets what they want. The more the fans get what they want, and then all the people that's into all the woke crap and checking boxes, they get what they want to.
Exactly.
You know?
And
you
listen,
money your hand over fist.
That's right. And bro, at the end of the day, if there's 7 movies in different universes, I don't know about you, but I'm such a comic book fan. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay if there's 5 more Joker movies.
I'm going to see all of them.
Who cares? Yeah,
yeah. The comics run like that. They do separate timelines and stories. Why can't the movies?
Like, you don't have to be Marvel. That's the problem with DC is they've always tried to be Marvel. And unless you're going to reboot everything and you're going to start from fresh, and then you have a plan in the next 15 years to be like another Justice League, okay, do that. That's fine. Start a timeline. But don't try to do the Justice League in 2 years. It took Marvel 10 years to build all those stories and those characters to lead to Endgame. Yeah. And they're not even done. They're not even rebooting yet. Like, you can't copy that.
You want to play catch up? Yeah. It was so stupid for them to do that. You know, and Zach did a great job with how they did it.
Right.
But it was just like, God, give the dude some time to flesh this fucking story out. You know?
Yeah, so true. And then you get these great movies and these great characters that, like Henry Cavill's in the world. Then you squash that for whatever reason. It's just, you know, like, what did they do with Robert Downey Jr. when he asked for more money? They gave him more money. Henry Cavill, like, if you're the WB execs, do you not look at him and say, fuck anything else. Fuck Man of Steel back 7 years ago. Like, this dude's got potential. We can move forward with Black Adam and this and Shazam and all that. Just give him a couple movies. That's a box office hit.
He's arguably the best Superman ever. He's arguably the best Superman ever. And, you know, I actually really like the guy on Superman and Lois.
That's true. That's a great show, actually.
I really like him. Like, he reminds me of Chris.
Yeah, a little bit. Tyler, yeah. That's true. I'm going to bust Chris balls for that.
The eyes and stuff. The 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah, it's
great.
Zach
Superman was supposed to have an arc, but you know what's funny? You know what? People like I noticed gave Zach a lot of hate for making Superman too dark, but they forget that they were following the gritty, grounded, realistic Batman that Nolan set up. That's what they wanted projected, but he was supposed to have an arc, from what I understand, and become the sunshiny, happy one by the last Justice League movie.
Yep, that's
You
what
know
I heard.
mean? So,
Well, and you got to think to yourself, like, he had a plan when he did Man of Steel to eventually bring on Batman and kind of create this universe anyway. So you didn't want like a shiny, pretty Man of Steel, because then the next movie was going to be Batman v Superman. Then you can't go dark with Batman. You can't have dark and bright. So he's kind of keeping that same tone, which is great. And then, you know, as Superman gets reborn in that Justice League, eventually he would grow into what we all know. Because that's a very young Superman too. I mean, he was only like year 2 or year 3 anyway of being Superman.
Yeah, I wasn't Superman for too long.
What a crazy year, by the way. His first year being Superman and General Zod comes down. Like, that's a shitty day.
Yeah, right away. Right away. Damn, what I was going to say.
About Snyder.
I don't.
About Snyder,
know.
Superman, Henry Cavill.
Can't remember, man. I can't remember. It was.
Yeah, you got to interrupt me, man, when I go on a tangent.
That's all right.
Yeah,
I
but
forgot what we were talking about, but
I mean, really, just the DCU, like how it's unfortunately, you know, happened. It seems like there's a little bit of
hodgepodge,
mismatched.
You know, yeah, it's weird. Just this movie here, this movie there, everything. You know.
Joker 2 is supposed to come out. I heard they're starting to film that.
Yeah.
That should be interesting.
I expect that to be just as phenomenal as the first one.
Oof, yeah.
That Joker fits this Batman, doesn't he? He fits that world.
We're talking about an Arkham?
No.
Oh, Joaquin?
Joaquin's, I feel, fits it. I do, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I didn't like about when that Joker reveal?
In the Batman?
Yeah, in the Batman.
Yeah.
You know, he says the thing about being the clown and stuff like that. I expected where they were having their little laughing back and forth. I expected like like something to let us really know, like, oh, that is him.
Yeah. Yeah, because the laugh was kind of, Paul Dano and his laugh were like the same.
Yeah, they were giggling. It was like two guys talking between a wall, giggling.
It's like, whoa, bro, you gonna give me the fucking laugh or what, bud?
Dano was great at playing a fucking psycho, man.
He was incredible, man. And again, I put him up there, no disrespect, but I put him up there with Heath Ledger for sure, right? Yeah.
He's very memorable.
Yeah.
Very memorable. And I like, you know, the part that stuck out to me? The whole no.
In the cell. Yes.
I was like, oh, this guy is fucking insane.
Yes. Well, and bro, I love the fact, that's such a good point. I love the fact that he won. Like, you don't realize it, but like he won.
Oh, yeah, all the explosives went off. He got everything done that I think he wanted to do. Yeah,
he got everything. But then in that scene with Batman that you're talking about, for people who don't know, spoiler, but what's great about that scene that I love the most is even before he says that he's talking to Batman and he keeps saying Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And he's like, Bruce Wayne. And then you got chills. You're like, oh, fuck, he knows he's Bruce Wayne. Like, game over. Like, there's not going to be. And then you realize, oh, wait a minute. Nope. He does not know it's Bruce Wayne. Right?
Was that?
Because then he goes, Bruce Wayne's the one we didn't get.
I got to watch it again then.
You got to watch it again. I'm watching it again tomorrow.
Because I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Does he or doesn't he? Was the camera on or not? Because you see Batman look at the camera when he starts to say his name.
He looks at it, and then right when he's looking at the camera's on Batman, and then he goes, he's the one that got away. Bruce.
Oh, maybe
Wayne.
I didn't hear him say that.
Yeah, so then, and it was a split second. So it's very interesting that they didn't spend a lot more time on that because it's a very key plot point that he didn't know. Because you're Bruce Wayne and you're Batman, and you're thinking that he knows who you are because he keeps repeating the name. Yeah. But then little do we know, Bruce Wayne was supposed to be the Riddler's next victim.
Right.
And that's what the Riddler's upset about. And then he goes that whole part of like, you know, when Batman calls him insane and he shouts out, no. And you got goosebumps with that, bro.
I thought he was
Like-
going to give it back to him, though. I thought he was going to say, "Oh, I'm the one that's insane," but he didn't.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
And dude, it's such a great, again, it's a great moment for that character because he's now becoming the Riddler. Like we haven't really even seen how sadistic he can be.
And this Riddler is not the Riddler we're used to.
Right.
This is another different take, which was very good. It hurts a movie when the take doesn't work for the majority of the fans. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And it worked for most of us.
That's right. And like you said earlier in this, it's all context. In Batman Forever, Jim Carrey's Riddler made sense.
Yes.
It made sense.
And he was reminiscent of the one back in Adam West days.
That's right.
It was kind of jokerish, but it fit. It totally fit.
And that's all we knew too. But now Matt Reeves has definitely opened up, I think, a lot of doors for DC. And if they stick on this path, man, I feel like they could do some big things. Like I heard they're even doing like a spinoff with Penguin, which I thought he was great. Colin Farrell crushed that like crazy.
Yeah. You don't know it's him. Every once in a while, you'll see something. You're like, I see him. I see him through the makeup. I can tell.
Yeah.
But he's somebody else in that.
Yeah. Whoa, easy, sweetheart. Come on, man.
People are going to be saying that for years.
He is bringing that back, but don't say it to a woman though. That's disrespectful.
Yeah. You'll get canceled for
especially in 2022. Sweetheart.
Did you notice the Bale man voice when he was getting mad?
Oh yeah.
I was like, I hear Bale man.
It comes out a little bit.
He's getting gravelly.
It definitely comes out. I can't wait to see more of him. I heard they're doing that spinoff on HBO Max. And then I was even reading something that Matt Reeves wants to do an Arkham Asylum spinoff, which could be interesting.
I heard that, Affleck's Batman movie was supposed to be an interpretation of Arkham Asylum story. And I'm just like, I'm so mad they didn't do that because, did you ask me to rank the Batman? Did you ask me earlier?
Well, that was going to be my last question to you, but yeah.
Oh, well, I've told people, here's my ranking of Batman.
Even after this movie?
Okay. I'm not putting Adam West in this because to me, he's so far removed.
Wow.
In you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But actually, no, I will put Adam West in this. Ben Affleck is still number one for me.
Yeah.
However, because people were asking me, like during a live stream too, they were saying, who do you think would kick whose ass? I'm like, oh, well, there's no chance this Batman would beat Ben Affleck's Batman.
Yeah.
Especially as experienced as Ben Affleck's when he's bigger, he's stronger, he's got more tech. He's not winning. But
he almost beat Superman, for God's sakes. Come on.
Huh?
He almost beat Superman. Of course he's going to beat Robert Pattinson's ass. Yeah.
Exactly. But he's still my favorite. I love his Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of it too. I love his Bruce Wayne compared to Robert's Bruce Wayne. Even though I do like his Bruce Wayne, I do in the context of the story. But he's first still. I like the suit more. I like the warehouse scene. That warehouse scene has still not been beaten for me yet. Have stuff come close? Yes. Did stuff come kind of close in this movie? Yes. But nothing beats it. That for me showed me, because before then I had always wanted to see the master martial artist of Batman. And for him to run through so many people in that long scene beating everybody's ass like that, I was like, I finally got what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Ben Affleck, then a very, very close second is Keaton, Bale, and Pattinson. I've got them tied all. I can't choose, man.
Yeah.
Then I've got Kilmer.
Clooney.
No, Kilmer, West, Clooney. Clooney's last.
That's fair.
And he could have been a great Batman, but it was how the part was fucking written.
Yeah.
You know.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, George Clooney was only Ocean's 11. Like, that's his character was just the Ocean's 11 character. That's all. It took no fucking.
They had written him differently.
Yeah.
But I have there's the nostalgia of Keaton. There's the nostalgia of Keaton and the way his Batman grew on you over time.
Mm-hmm.
And you realized kind of how good he was. And then there was Bale, who was definitively the best ever because of the way they wrote and the way he portrayed that. It was just like, with Nolan. But then no one thought he could be topped. And then Ben Affleck. And then when Batman v Superman came out, people just talked about how he stole the show. It's his movie. He's the best Batman ever. I say never with these characters. It's going to take time for me to rank them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And I don't know if it's...
I know you have your list. I can tell.
I do. And my list is not too far off from yours, to be honest. But I don't think it's fair either to put in Pattinson right now because we've seen all those other Batmans in multiple movies. Yeah. So, like you said, they grow on you. And for me, it's always been Keaton. Christian Bale, of course, I loved, but I only think I loved it because of the 3 movies. Like, they're just fantastic. They're like some of my favorite comic book movies in the world. Yeah. So I think he could have been less shitty, and I still would have liked him just because the movies were great. But he did one thing I loved about Christian Bale that not a lot of people have, and Ben Affleck has this characteristic where their Bruce Wayne is almost as good, if not better, than their Batman. Like I really like I could watch, right? Like I could watch 90% of that movie be Bruce Wayne in like a Ben Affleck movie or like a series.
You know what? I was going to say with Ben, I could not Bale. But I see that. I could watch a whole lot of Bruce Wayne, but not the Justice League Bruce Wayne. Right. I like how he was in Batman v Superman.
Yeah. And again, that detective style was in him. That you see when he's in Luther's house and he's trying to transcribe that coding or whatever he was doing. Yeah, like that type of Bruce Wayne. If I had a series of that, bro, I'm in. I like
that, man.
I'm in.
His whole demeanor in the house, the way he interacted with everybody was different.
Like he was such a dickhead to Luther. I loved it. I was like, oh, this chemistry is fantastic. That's why I was so pissed off.
Like those shoes.
He goes, he goes, hey there, Bruce, Clark Kent from the Daily Planet. Daily Planet, do I own this one? Like, I'm like, oh, you animal. Yeah, so for me,
already
it's
throwing shots.
Already, dude. You just met the kid. But yeah, for me, it's Ben Affleck and Robert Pattinson are close. And I never thought anybody would beat Keaton. Because Keaton and Affleck were like this for me. But I just think with Pattinson, I see it going somewhere, and I think I'm more obsessed with the movie as a whole being more Batman-centric. I think if there was another Batman with Matt Reeves, and we saw more of the Bruce Wayne character, go to the character that we all know, the billionaire philanthropist, I think we all would have a different conversation. But yeah, right now I would agree with your list, but I see so much potential in Pattinson where that Batman is just dangerous. Very Arkham style, very Arkham Knight, the game. The fight scenes and stuff.
I was gonna say, I don't think his Bruce is like Arkham.
No.
His Bruce is
something we haven't seen.
I'm thinking of the Arkham games right now. Like that Bruce is
very almost like the animated series.
It's more like the animated series than anything. Which is
great.
I guess the closest might be Ben.
Yeah,
Ben's Bruce is closest to that.
Yeah,
but
I mean, Ben's Bruce Wayne tops it for me. Like he's overall, he's the best character. Like, and in my eyes, overall, that's the best thing. If
someone said pick one to watch the rest of your life, it's Ben.
Gotta be Ben. Yeah, I think I would have to agree with that. Yeah. It's so, and again, hopefully with the Flash, we don't see, because I did hear about that rumor about him getting killed off too, but hopefully we see more of that. We'll see.
Well, they better bring him back if they kill him off. They better have Flash snatch him out of another timeline or something, man. Because
Anything's possible now, right?
yeah.
Anything's possible.
Ben was saying that, like, I don't know. I think it was Justice League. Shooting Justice League was one of the worst experiences of his life because of everything that was going on and the way they were doing things. And I he's got his own problems. He was going, he had the alcohol problem and stuff.
Yeah.
And, he looks different. He looks aged and softer
For sure.
in Justice League than he, like, so apparently the man was dealing with some demons in his life. Stress will fuck you up.
Oh yeah.
Trust me, I've been through it. So
yeah, dude. And that might be it too. Maybe he just doesn't want to do it just because of that. That could be possible. But yeah, just a great story and great character, and he just did a great job. The good news is, at least, I think anybody that puts on the cowl is always worried, right? Because it's a lot of pressure.
It's big shoes to fill.
Huge. And I know Ben was definitely worried about that, but I can honestly say that he's good. He will go down in history, even a decade from now. He'd be like we're talking about Keaton. Yeah, in my eyes. So.
You know what's funny? That's two guys cast for Batman that a certain section of guys hated, or even hated for the role. Like, guys hated Robert Pattinson for being the teeny heartthrob, sparkly vampire.
Yeah,
I never hated him for that, but I guess it depends on when you grew up, and people end up loving him.
Yeah.
And, same thing. Ben shut people up.
Yeah.
People were like, oh, no, Ben's got that fucking mole. He does have the chin, though, but no, Ben fucking Affleck. So Ben Affleck's so big, he's as big, or his name transcends Batman. It's like, you're Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
But when you watch, you're like, that's Batman. You're not thinking you're Ben Affleck.
That's right. That's a good point, yeah. And Bale doesn't really have that, but...
Bale never had that.
Yeah.
Because Bale, I saw Bale in Equilibrium.
I love that fucking movie.
And I was like, this guy, when I found out they cast him, I was like, this dude's actually a real fighter. He knows how to fight. He's a martial artist. He's got some training here.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh. And for the time, The Dark Knight gave me the hand-to-hand combat that I wanted to see. Not enough of it. Yeah. But like The Dark Knight in the parking garage when he's going through the guys with the short shots, I really liked that.
Yeah.
So,
that was great. Yeah, that's what's interesting about this new take on the Batman. There's definitely a lot of fight scenes, and you could tell he's working through some motions. I'd like to see more jujitsu, more actual fighting, because a lot of this was, he's blocking bullets.
I kept hearing it was a lot of stunt doubles doing his stuff.
Yeah.
It still looked like it was him in the suit, at least.
It did. Yeah. I mean, he did a great job with it. And there's a lot of cool scenes in it, but there's definitely, I'd like to see more throwing, tossing, kicking. Like, I want to see less like bulletproof scenes, because that's a lot of it.
That's what I meant to talk about. You remember how you said the running thing earlier?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There was something I wanted to touch on, because I think if you have Batman run properly, it won't look stupid. But God, this is making me think about different things. You remember what Tim Burton had Batman walk like Michael Myers?
That's right. Yeah.
You remember it was really strange. You remember when he's walking after the Joker? After Jack Napier in Actus Chemicals, he does that whole thing where he puts his cape kind of his arms behind his back, and he's just walking and stalking him like it's a walk in the park.
And then he would turn a corner and throw the cape.
He turns the corner, and he's just, and just the way he walks in that was very serial killer-ish.
Yeah, very Michael Myers. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked. But then he ran with Vicky after they get out of the car. And it looks stupid.
Yeah.
But then when they turn the corner and they're running down the alley together, I thought that shot was good.
Yeah.
So it depends on how you have Batman run.
Yeah.
Like Ben's only did it maybe in short bursts. He remember when the guy shoots the bat gun out of his hand, and then he runs at the guys and he's fighting 4 at a time.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's never a sprint where you see him, running.
Yeah.
It's just got to be done right.
Yeah, like I would love to see in the next film, I'd love to see like a legit like sprint 30 seconds and the cape's flapping in the air, like old school, like animated, version of the Batman, that type of running that you see all the time. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see a shot like that down an alleyway, chasing after thugs, something.
I would like to see him going through the city just with the gun like he does in the animated series.
Oh,
that would be cool to see, to just see him flipping and grab another and just keep going to see, like Spider-Man, because he does that.
Yeah.
In the comics, that's what he does. So,
and that's what I loved about Batfleck was you saw that in Batman v Superman when they were taking down Doomsday. The fucking grapple, and I saw that, I was like, oh.
Yeah. Zach put the shot in of him on the wall in the same position as the lightning strike. Yeah.
Come
From
on,
the dark
bro.
side, I was like, ah.
That's why Batfleck is hard to beat, man. It's just,
he did the whole martial artist thing. We got some Batgun stuff, the voice. I like the voice changer. That
the
seems
voice changer
more
was cool.
practical.
Yeah.
I mean, Bale was way too. It was.
Where is she?
Much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much.
Those films, they're great, but in certain aspects they don't age well. And the main thing is his voice.
Yeah.
Especially in the second one.
Yeah.
Remember he's talking to Joker. Great people and all this stuff. He's just talking about, good people. And I'm just like, God, why is he forcing that so hard?
It's like, dude, how much yerba mate tea do you have to drink after this shoot because your voice is hoarse and you're done? Yeah. But, there's potential for sure with this Batman. I like the whispering aspect of it. It's interesting, but I could see a couple movies down the road, maybe he gets a little bit more tech savvy. And maybe he adds more things. But where do you...
That would make more sense because he talks the same way as Bruce.
Yeah.
In real life, you want to make it real life, someone's going to recognize his voice. It's Wayne.
Like, how did the Penguin not pick up on that? It's like, bro, you met Bruce Wayne and Batman. Like, you don't see this? Come on. Exactly. But last thing, dude, because I didn't realize, but we're at like an hour and 10.
That's good.
Where do you see this Batman in particular going? Do you see spinoffs? Do you see sequels? Like, where would you like to see it if you had a perfect world?
Well, I heard they wanted to do this as a one-off. Now they can't, because first of all, Warner Brothers, DC are desperate to catch Marvel. They've caught lightning in a bottle again with this Batman, so they're going somewhere with it. It's probably going to be a trilogy. Are they going to make him part of the Justice League? I don't know. It might be nice to see. I think that Matt and Snyder's styles mesh well because there were shots where I was like, this feels Snyder-esque. Yeah. Certain lighting, certain, the angles. And I was like, I could see these two directors working together with crossover type of things where they're both working with these characters. So, and they're both, it's interesting. I have never been such a fan of Matt Reeves until this movie. And I love the Apes movies that he did.
Yeah. But
when I saw this, I was just like, holy shit.
It's just beautiful, man.
He pulled out everything for this.
It's beautiful. And even...
And it's hard to nitpick what was bad about it.
Seriously. Yeah.
There's only like a couple of things. Yeah. Only a couple of things. Like when he's flying with the flying squirrel suit on, you're like, that could have been done a little bit. Like when it's the close-up of his face.
Right.
And he just be like his head and his shoulders is kind of,
like,
that looks green screeny. But
it's like, did you put on a GoPro and then put a green screen behind him? Like, what happened here, bud?
Right.
Yeah, but you're right, though. There's not a whole lot to pick apart.
Yeah,
and
you can pick the length. Most people are going to pick that out. The length, maybe the green screeny, too emo, okay. But, you're grasping at straws most of the time.
Right.
if you're trying to destroy this movie, I don't think you really have a foot to stand on.
No, very true. And
No.
and not only that, but I don't know if you noticed this, but not only is it beautifully shot, the writing I thought was fantastic, the storyline, the Riddler with all the serial killings and stuff like that, the way it all tied together, that's very hard to do, especially in a 3-hour movie. That's a comic book movie. That's hard to do. He did a great job with that. But then if you noticed, Michael, whatever his name is, whoever did the score and the music, but the music was very Tim Burton, right? There was a lot of like the themes, you know, not just the covers, like the Nirvana cover was great, but because that was in there a lot. I thought it wasn't going to be in there at all.
That's what I'm like, they're using it.
Because normally, and it's in the trailer, it's not in the movie. And it was in there like 2 or 3 times, little bits and pieces. But then the main theme song, like when he was coming out of the shadows in the beginning, just that dum, 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 dum. Like that's very Tim Burton. It felt Tim Burton.
You're like, holy shit, like they've got him stalking him like a serial killer, like Michael Myers. You just hear him coming. You know what I like? Did you notice that they changed the sound effect? I really feel that they did, unless I didn't notice it watching the trailers 9,000 times. But when he's walking up to the penguin, it sounds like a gunslinger.
In the car scene, right?
Yeah, what are they called?
The Spurs?
Spurs.
The Spurs,
sounds
yeah.
Like I hear, yeah, I'm like, oh, that's a cool effect of them to add that there.
Dude, that's a good point. I never realized that. Yeah. You're right, they did add that.
When he walks, it's heavy.
It is.
Like,
well, and when you see it, like you see his arms and his legs, like that's what I loved about the realism of it. And you have to see this in theaters, like because you hear the surround, but that like the thumping of everything, him walking, him punching, like it's heavy. He's wearing a lot of heavy bulletproof armor, and it shows when he walks. Like that scene, that chase. We didn't talk about the chase. There's so much to talk about, but that chase scene, bro. When the Batmobile first hit, I gotta be honest, I wasn't, after seeing Affleck's, because again, I'm a huge, like that to me was like the tank of tanks. But the fact is, yeah.
Affleck's Batmobile is one of my least favorites.
Is that right? Oh, I love that
Tumbler, I think, is my favorite, or Keaton's. But I think it's the Tumbler.
The Tumbler.
Go ahead. I understand why you like his, but
yeah. I mean, of course, Keaton's great, but they're two different beasts. Like I love just that scene, not the warehouse scene in Batman vs Superman, but when he's chasing down the kryptonite, right? Like that whole scene where he's busting through the ship and shit, and I'm like, this is kind of outrageous, but I love it. So to me, that I got the itch for, right? But when I saw this, I didn't think I was gonna like it because it's just a regular car. But when they're at the warehouse with the penguin, and it's in the alley, and it turns on, and I'm like, hold on. What is this? Is this?
It's like a horror movie again. It's like a beast awakening, and you kind of see its eyes start to open. What?
Dude, that whole scene was incredible.
Oh man! So I'm like, when I saw, I was like, I can't believe that in that one scene, that one shot or whatever, those couple of shots, that this is becoming one of my favorite Batmobiles ever already.
And this is the first movie. Imagine a couple sequels. Like, what is it going to look like then? Like, oof, it's going to get decked out.
Yeah, because they always change it so that they can sell more toys, sell something different.
Of course. Yeah.
But one thing I meant to say, I'm going to see it in 4DX next.
Ooh.
Have you ever experienced 4DX?
I think I might have seen like Jurassic World, the first one. And it's incredible. But they didn't have it at the theater that I was at, but I would really love to see it because I heard it's incredible, like the moving.
Yeah, the tickets are always like twice the fucking price, but to me it's worth it. You know, you got the smoke, lighting effects, you got rain and water and wind, you got everything in there. I'm waiting for the Batmobile chase in 4DX. I can't wait till I watch it in 4DX, man.
That would be rad. When are you going to see it next? You got a plan?
I think I'm going to go Sunday.
Okay, because I'm going tomorrow again to watch it again.
Okay.
I brought my boy, that's a big Batman fan, the first time, and we got all decked out in Batman shit, and then I'm bringing the wife tomorrow, and she's she's of course not a fan. She'll watch them and she likes them and she enjoyed them. Like No Way Home, she loved, and she didn't understand. You know, she didn't understand a lot of it, like the little nods and tips. She's like, "Oh yeah, wasn't one of those Spider-Mans in like another Spider-Man?" And I'm like, "Yeah, babe, this is a big deal."
Yep.
But I'm taking her to see this, and I'm stoked about it just to watch it the second time to listen to it. But when I bought the tickets, you know, one thing I didn't realize because you talked about 40X, I didn't understand this until I bought these second tickets and I'm rehashing all this stuff. You know, it was raining the entire time.
It was raining.
It was raining. Like
Right.
the entire movie, it was raining. But then you don't realize, like, that's Gotham. That's how, you know, like if you play the games, if you play the video games, it was raining the whole time. But
like the worst city in the world to live in. You know?
they're like in Seattle. Like it's just so depressing. And yeah, it's gross.
Now it makes sense with the whole grunge band, with the whole Nirvana thing.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. But no, dude, I know you went a little bit over, so I appreciate you hopping on again, man. This was fun. And if people don't know, where can they find you? What do you got going on? I'll leave your YouTube links and stuff below, but where can they find you?
Yeah, everywhere it's Tyrone Magnus, I believe. So Facebook, Tyrone Magnus, Instagram, Tyrone Magnus, Twitter is the Tyrone Magnus, and of course YouTube, Tyrone Magnus. So
Nice. Well, dude, loving your stuff as always. Love hearing from you. And yeah, let's do this again, man.
all right, cool, bro.
All right, T.
I'll talk to
Appreciate you, man.
All right.
All right, later.